Hello and welcome. I want to talk in this video about the issue of male body image, the expectations and pressures society places on men, and also the cumulative effect all these messages have on males, both mentally and physically. It seems a general perception is that men and boys are impervious to the messages they're fed via the media in regards to body image, but this simply isn't the case. The extremes that males are going to now to achieve physical perfection proves this. Men are doing irreversible damage to their bodies, and they're suffering in a variety of ways. And they're suffering in silence. Now, men are hunters, women are nurturers. And this is how the gender roles are perceived. But even with the advent of technology, males are still taught that their bodies are just utilities. And the male body, it's not celebrated. It's not seen as a thing of beauty in the modern age. Now, the female body is deemed beautiful, but the male body is seen as just merely functional. And that body needs to be a perfectly functioning machine. And yes, physical competition, it's a great thing. Testing the limits of your body and achieving competitively gives men a sense of purpose. It gives them a sense of achievement. But boys are never allowed to view their bodies as something to be cared for or nurtured. It's perfection or nothing. And male self-esteem has, and it always will be, based heavily on body image. And it's becoming increasingly so. Now, some psychologists, they see a direct correlation between the failing economy and male body obsession in recent years. That men are looking to re-establish some control over their lives by taking control over their physical appearance. And yes, while there's some truth to this also discounts decades of media indoctrination that has effectively led men to pursue physical perfection obsessively and take increasing risks in the process. So, what's the ideal man? Physically, what is the ideal? And the immediate response, if you ask anyone, will always be, there is no ideal, not for men. Men can look however they want, and only women have to live up to a standard. But this is a deflection. And men are held to a physical standard just as much as women are. And looking at it objectively, there is only one standard for the male body. And anything less than muscular perfection, with a body fat level below the natural threshold, is seen as acceptable. And overweight males, they're not seen as curvy. Skinny, underweight males, they're seldom seen as sexy or masculine. And there are no campaigns for male body acceptance. Yet males, they're deeply affected by media indoctrination just as much as females. So why is this dismissed? If you look back, in ancient Greece, the male body was celebrated. And with the desire for physical perfection came the thirst for wisdom. And older males, and we're talking about older males, the older men would have been deemed in their 30s and 40s. These men were seen as wise. They were teachers of the next generation. But today men are denigrated, and men are kept away from the raising of boys. And masculinity is demeaned at every opportunity. And male sexuality is seen as destructive. But the thing is, male body image, the media depiction of it, is charged with sexuality. And this is how men and women are marketed to. And this is no secret. It make us feel insecure, and advertisers can fill that need with a product. But this direct marketing, it has a cumulative effect on men and boys. You combine these messages of physical perfection with the messages that masculinity is reprehensible, and then stir that pot with sexually charged imagery. Then you have generations of males growing up insecure and taking extreme risks to achieve that physical standard. And their energy is going in directions that are not helping them. It's only disadvantaging them. And essentially it creates a vacuum, where male energy is turned inwards. And living up to the ideal of a society that only seeks to disadvantage you as a man and fleece you for your money is not furthering your best interests. Cap it off with a wall of silence and shame for failing to live up to that standard of perfection, and you have a cycle of self-abuse that more and more males are falling into. And yes, women are expected to live up to an ideal of physical beauty, but the expectations on men are far greater. Now, even just looking at the qualities for mate selection, the man needs to tick all the right boxes. He needs to have the right job, he needs to have the right income, the right social status, be the right height, be the right weight, have the right body fat percentage, drive the right car, what have you, in order for him to be a viable candidate for mate selection. So boys, they look at their role models, Arnold Schwarzenegger, sports heroes, and they're not stupid. They can put two and two together. And they see how these men use drugs to achieve their dreams, and they follow suit. And there are more and more men who suffer from body dysmorphic disorder, or eating disorders, or muscle dysmorphia. Like when I was in school, and people, they turn a willful blind eye to this, but when I was in school, oral steroids were passed around like candy. Guys shot up all the time with testosterone, with trembolone, in order to build muscle. They took diuretics and thermogenics to cut down on body fat. And these guys, they took some really extreme risks. And they didn't cycle on and off properly, they didn't use post-cycle therapy, and they messed around with their hormone levels. And I know men now that have many health issues due to their usage. And one friend I had, he died from using DMP for fat loss. And DMP is a pesticide. He had a family. Now he's dead. I had another friend who gassed himself to death in his own garage. He was a bodybuilder. He suffered from chronic low self-esteem due to his body image. And his son found his body. And I work in my spare time. I help out with a community group here in my home country. It assists youth. And upstairs there's an eating disorders clinic. And I've helped out there from time to time. And I've met many young men with eating disorders. These disorders, they're extreme. They have extreme consequences. With bulimia, the acid eats away at your teeth and your internal organs. I've seen the end result of that. And many have anorexia. And anorexia can cause all manner of conditions. A heart disease, seizures. And it has the highest mortality rate among all the psychological disorders. But the vast number of clinics out there, they restrict their practices to women only, which should be illegal. But then again, out of sight, out of mind, when it comes to males. And in truth, society sees men who don't live up to this physical ideal, or these status ideals, as lesser men. And like I say, there's only one standard for men. And there's no celebrities or politicians campaigning for male body issues. So it's a silent battle for men. And in regards to solutions, masculinity, it needs to be redefined by men. And males, they need to reject society's notion of what a real man should be. And men, they need to educate young males about media indoctrination, about male disposability, especially how males are exploited for profit. Men need to get back into children's lives and speak the truth to young men and teach them of the dangers, the real dangers, and help them develop an actual positive masculine identity. But in reality, with all the current bias against men, in the courts, in the education system, the media depictions of men as perverts, as child molesters, what have you, it's extremely difficult for men to be mentors to boys. And the system, it's geared towards separating men from children. But really, the current feminized society we live in, it's wreaking havoc on children's development. And this desire to be lean, to be muscular, to be athletic, to be perpetually youthful, it's not a new desire for men. But what's changed in the last few decades is mass media marketing of the perfect male body. All these airbrushed doctored images. And in turn, men and boys, they're developing confidence and image issues. And no one seems to care. And those that do admit this is happening, they see it as some form of righteous retribution. That women have been objectified and now it's men's turn. But myself personally, I would never wish that on a child. And it could be argued that that men have, always been concerned about their appearance. Now, as opposed to the modern conception that men don't, or shouldn't, and never have. If we look to the animal kingdom, and males use displays of physicality and posturing to attract females. They always have. So why would humans be any different? You look at the examples all throughout history. Back in the 1800s, men wore girdles. They wore corsets, to look slim. And back in the day, Louis XIV wore high heels. Men copied him. It was the fashion. In ancient Egypt, men wore wigs, they wore eyeliner. In the 1700s, men wore wigs and lipstick. So it would seem to be the natural for men to want to enhance their appearance for personal reasons or for mate selection. So the perception that it's normal for women to be concerned about their bodies, but if a man is, he's somehow egotistical, is false, based on history. And this perception, it's just another means for men and boys to be robbed of having a voice, so they can be manipulated into conforming into the role of disposable utility. And statistics, they suggest that 1 in 10 people with an eating disorder is male. But the true number will always be much higher, due to the fact that men are less likely to report, due to social conditioning. And the media, they think it's enough to just push the odd article that states that men have eating disorders too. But that's not good enough. The perception that men are oppressors, not deserving of help, or that men are privileged and don't need help, is false. But if men do speak up, they'll be deemed weak, less of a man, or just egotistical. And young boys, they come into this world seeking guidance. They have enthusiasm, they have passion, they have a thirst for knowledge. And they seek out role models, they look to celebrities, to athletes, and this is natural. Now, whatever the media tells them is masculine or attractive, they want to be that, no matter what the cost. And failing to meet this ideal, it can lead young men to abuse themselves even more. And realistically, going by the evidence, this isn't something that males just grow out of, contrary to popular opinion. This desire for perfection increases with age. It doesn't decrease. Time does not fix this issue. Anyway, that's all the time I have for today, but I want to thank you for your time, and all the best for Christmas. Thank you.